Alright, so almost exactly 2 months ago, this snake around my neck laid a big clutch of eggs, and those eggs have been in the incubator for about 2 months, and I was going through my eggs just the other day, and sure enough, one of these eggs was starting to hatch, and essentially what they do is they take their egg tooth and they start cutting open the leathery shell of the egg, and you can kind of see little slits in the egg, and that is pretty much the indicator where you can actually go through and cut all the rest of the eggs with the scissors and kind of peek inside and look at the results of the pairing. So essentially what this is this is a lesser ball python female, and I crossed it with my scaleless head male. So what we can actually expect is lessers, scaleless heads, normals, and a lesser scaleless head. So that's kind of the crown jewel, is the scaleless head with the lesser, because what I'm really shooting for is a totally scaleless blue-eyed leucistic, which would be kind of cool. It's actually a blue-eyed snake that is completely white, and the way you get it is you have 2 copies of the lesser gene. So one copy of the lesser looks like this, 2 copies of the lesser, you get a completely white snake with blue eyes, which is pretty incredible. And if we can add the scaleless head into the mix and eventually cross 2 of those scaleless heads together, you'll get a snake that is completely white without any scales and with blue eyes. That's kind of the end goal of this breeding project. So what I'm really hoping for today is to get a lesser scaleless head. And really, when we cut open the eggs, you don't really want to take the snake all the way out. So really, I've actually cut open scaleless heads before, and you really can't tell which ones are scaleless heads and which ones aren't until they completely come out of the egg all the way. But today, at least, you know, we'll actually be able to see how many lessers we have in that clutch. Hopefully we'll have multiple lessers and a minimal number of normals. Really what I'm shooting for is the maximum number of lessers. And ideally, if we could get 2 lesser scaleless heads, that would be pretty much ideal, especially if we could get a male and a female. Then we could breed those together and shoot for the totally scaleless all white snake with blue eyes. So let's check out those eggs. All right, so these eggs are about 6 days shy of a full 60 days. They're actually, the hatch date's actually in 6 days, but I actually saw one popping his head out. So we're just gonna take a look and see what we see here. I don't think any of them are out completely. We just have one sticking his head out. Take a look at that. That is pretty cool. Just one little head sticking out of the egg. That one kind of looks like maybe, looks like a normal, not scaleless head. I can kind of tell what that is. And see, as soon as I pick him up, of course, he sticks his head in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these out one by one, and let's take a look and see what we can see, if we can, you know, see which one is a lesser, and if we get really lucky, we may be able to see which one's scaleless head and which ones are not scaleless head. So what I'm going to do is just cut a few little snips, and I just use the scissors. It's pretty easy, and I just, you know, be very careful so I don't cut anything I don't want to cut in the egg. And let's take a look at this one. Let's see. This one is, wow, wait a minute. This one is, wait a minute. This doesn't look like a normal. It doesn't really look like a lesser either. This almost looks like a bamboo. It's like, what in the world is going on? This is kind of crazy. Yeah. I have no clue. Take a look at that. See if you can see what, to me, that kind of looks like a bamboo. I don't know if you can see that. That is kind of crazy. It's definitely not a normal. That is not normal. Wow. Usually when I breed lessers and the lessers are really small like this, they are bright yellow. I have no clue what in the world is going on. To me, this looks like a bamboo. The only thing I can think of is that it actually had retained sperm from the year before, which can actually happen. So it'll be interesting to see what in the world is going on with these snake eggs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut open another one. Let me get a fresh paper towel here. This is kind of getting messy. So that is the most interesting thing I've ever seen. That's, you know, if that actually is a bamboo, that is the very first time I have ever seen a snake from the previous year hold over until the next year, which is pretty wild. Let's take a look at this one. So now I don't even know what I'm going to get from these eggs. It's pretty wild. Let's see. This one actually looks like it could be a lesser. Maybe, let's see. Oh, I don't know. Actually, that one looks more like a normal, if you can see that. It's kind of brown, a little bit of bubbly in there. That is kind of a mess. I would say this one's just a normal. The other one, I'm speechless on the other one. I don't know what the other one is. It kind of looks to me like a bamboo, but you know, I could be looking at the wrong thing. I don't know. That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. All right, let's go for the third egg and take a look. See what we have in this one. Now I'm really starting to wonder. So this one, boy, that is pretty interesting. I'd say this one looks close to a normal. Let me see if I get the light over just a little closer here. The funny thing about this one is it has pretty much a reduced pattern. It's a little bit yellower, but it almost kind of looks like a pastel. I don't know how that could happen. I'd say the closest thing on that one is probably a normal on that one. This is a really interesting clutch. I don't even know what's going on with this one. So let's see, the front, it says scaleless head with my lesser, scaleless head with my lesser. I didn't mix the lids up. I'm kind of at a loss here. So let's take a look at this one. This one, let's see. So far I haven't seen a lesser. I'm hoping on this one. Boy, I don't know. I suppose that last one could have been a lesser. This one kind of looks like a lesser. You know, I'm thinking maybe the last one was lesser too. But they're just not as bright yellow as I'm used to seeing some of these snakes in here. But you can, actually, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I can look inside and it definitely has some yellow in there. This last one, I would say, boy, I don't know. I don't think this one's a lesser. It's reduced and a little bit yellow, but to me it doesn't look like it's quite as yellow as a lesser. These may just be, I don't know. I would say maybe those two are lessers. They're just not as bright yellow as some of the lessers I've seen. So far, this has been really difficult. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's try. Let's see. This is the 5th egg, and there's a total of 7. Let's see. I'm starting to think that egg cutting is a little more difficult. Boy. To me, this one looks normal. You can actually see right in there, there is an alien head right there. And usually the alien heads, it's like a pattern that looks like an alien head, and that is associated with a normal. So I'd say this one's a normal. And that first one just kind of blew me away. It looks like a bamboo. I have no clue what's going on. This one seems like it has quite a bit of liquid in it. Yes, it has liquid in it. I don't know why. It's I've been having a hard time this year IDing snakes in the eggs, just kind of peeking in. I'm just not really seeing lesser. So this one is extremely goopy. Yeah. Look at this one. This is really a mess. But this one is really easy. If you take a look at that one, you see the little alien heads. That is a normal for sure. That is what a normal looks like. Alright, so let me change some of this. This is getting pretty messy. Alright, so we're going to cut one more egg, and then I think I'm going to wait until they come out to figure out what's what, because they are really throwing me off. I might take a look at that first one to see, maybe I'll cut it open a little and see if it really is a bamboo. That thing is pretty crazy. This one, boy, boy, I'd say this one, I don't know, what do you think that one is? I have no idea on some of these. I think we're going to have to wait till they come out of the egg. This is, for lessers, I would expect they would be a lot more yellow than these. Boy, I don't know. I'd say maybe this is a lesser and it just hasn't really brightened up. To me, this, I have no idea. But I'd say since the pattern's kind of all jumbled up like that, I would say this has a good chance of being something other than a normal. We'll say that. So let me look back at this first one. Now let me ask you if you think this is actually a lesser. This might be, I don't know, the ones that aren't normal, I don't know. They might be lessers. It could be. Alright, I'm going to open this one way up. Take a look at this. Do you think this is a lesser? I don't know. That just doesn't look like the lessers that I've seen in the past. That is pretty wild. I suppose that could be a lesser, just not brightened up. My other lessers were extremely bright. I would say this is probably... for the breeding, I would say this is definitely a lesser. It definitely looks different than what I was expecting. Alright, so from here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a new layer of press and seal on the top and pop these back in the incubator. And I'm going to let them cook for another probably 2 or 3 days until they completely come out. And when they come out, I think it'll be a lot easier to tell which one is which. And sometimes even that's difficult. Sometimes, you know, you get totally unexpected results. I know in some of these last batches, it really takes until they mature quite a bit until you can really figure out what the morphs are. All right, so it looks like I have 11 boxes of snake eggs in the incubator, all ball pythons. And it seems like the more I do this, the more I realize it is really tough trying to figure out which morph is which, especially when you start breeding multiple genes on top of each other. This one I thought would have been a lot easier. As a matter of fact, I thought one of those snakes looked kind of like Bobby here, like a bamboo, kind of a dark, broken up, reduced pattern. So it's kind of interesting that it's not really like the lessers that I've seen in the past. As a matter of fact, I think my last clutch of lessers was from my other lesser that was, we think she's 100% het ghost, so maybe that had a little influence, and maybe she just comes from a different line to where the babies were a lot yellower. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but we'll definitely see here in a few days when we pull those out of the incubator and take a closer look at the snakes once they come out of the egg, and at that point we'll set them up in the hatchling rack. So that's it. Thanks for coming along, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.